Well, hello everyone.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Brand new show. Cloud Foundry, we're
No,
back.
yeah, another great episode of Cloud Foundry Weekly planned for y'all.
Right.
Let's see here. Where are we
Coming
at?
to you live from the road this time.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, where are you at, Nikki?
I am in Phoenix, Arizona, and I do not know how people live here. I'll be honest with you. I stepped off the plane yesterday. It was 105. It's supposed to get to 111 today. I've got a brother that lives down here. I've got some friends that live down. How do y'all live triple digit heats? It's mind blowing.
So is it like a dry heat, like kind of like Las Vegas, or is there like what's the humidity level? Because that would really impact the survivability, I think.
I can't say the words, but I think of like, what is it? The Simpsons episode? Is it the Simpsons episode where they got the weatherman? What's
Yeah,
temperature outside? It's hot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
all that comes to mind. I think
Yeah.
once you hit, triple digits, the dry heat, wet heat kind of doesn't matter anymore. It's just hot.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. 111. I think start melting. You could probably start cooking things on the pavement. Who knows? Shout out to Keith, all
Well,
the way
I
from
think
Ireland. How you doing?
it wasn't that long ago, right, that they had a heat wave that came through here where trash cans were melting on the streets. Okay, you know what? That's all right, that's too extreme. All right. Anyway, I
Also, like
digress. I'm in
the
Phoenix. It's
plastic
hot.
trash cans. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the plastic was melting, and no, that's crazy. They talk about snowbirds, people that get away from the snow. I don't know how half this state doesn't leave come June.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it's a little warm here in
but we're
Cincinnati,
getting
but
off
not quite
topic.
111. But anywho. All right. Well, I guess yeah. Like
Yep.
we'll go back to our normally scheduled show programming. It is today is the episode 16, and we titled it "No GPUs, No Problem." And in relation to that, we may be talking about some generative AI today. If you haven't picked up on that or read the show description,
You
so
got some big news.
yeah,
You've
yeah.
got some big news to release today.
Yeah, so that little hackathon project that started, I guess, at Las Vegas Explore last year, we're now in public beta, so you can go to Tanzu.net and download it. At least for this week. Side note: Tanzu.net is getting migrated to the Broadcom support portal. So if you're out there and want to try it, I'd advise you download it this week. But we could put a link into the let's do that now. Put a link into the beta. I know
I'm
there were
getting
some.
it for you. You can go ahead and
Oh,
keep talking.
okay.
Yeah, you keep
Yeah,
talking.
there you
I'm
go.
getting it for you.
All right, so yeah, it's on Tanzu.net. You can go and download it. If you'd like help, we'd obviously we're more than willing to help out and get you started. I've been actually Nicky and I have been helping a customer this week install it and kind of work through some of their requirements and things like that. So happy to onboard more friends onto the generative AI journey here. And I think one of the biggest news or one of the biggest things that we want to talk about too today is that the team's done a lot of work, and actually with a lot of recent work with Intel, to optimize performance or significantly improve performance on CPUs, like obviously Intel CPUs. So I tried this on an AMD process. Side note, there's been some things added to the tile to support like CPU support. Obviously, you need to be like an Intel, probably Xeon family. The newer of your generation, the better your performance will be. But we have it even somewhat functional. Like I have Intel Xeon 2690 V4 processors. I believe they were released in 2016. So they're pretty old. Like, not even officially supported on vSphere anymore or anything like that. But I got ES6i to land on my HP Z440s. That will even run on those processors. Now, it's nowhere near as fast as the more modern CPUs that we have access to these days. But in terms of the eBay budget for buying a processor for $20 off eBay, it kind of works. So just a shout out there. So yeah,
Well,
we
let's
wanted to
talk
kind of
about that for a second,
yeah.
because that's pretty big, right? I mean, there's a lot of a
Hmm.
lot of people are interested in AI, but they don't want to go and make that investment to go get GPUs just to try it out. Maybe it's not something that works for them. So having
Yeah.
this ability to use CPUs, man, this is a try before you buy. Hey, go look at it. Just know, you're not getting a Ferrari here, right?
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
least you get to test drive the car.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to perform as well as these $40,000 to $80,000 NVIDIA data center GPUs. But and we talked to a lot of customers when we first started doing this, and they were really interested. But like, I think one customer said it takes them 3 years to get new hardware, just from
Mm.
all the planning, the procurement, the financial cycles. Or even if I think even back in the day when I was a customer, and I actually did a lot of I kind of sat in a dual role where I was kind of like the like VMware VI admin sort of architect within the data center, and I was also kind of like on the platform architecture engineering role as well. And even on good days before some of these like massive supply chain issues around gear and chips and things, it would take maybe 9 months to get acquire the funding, send it through all the procurement processes, and then you got to get all the gear, you got to make sure all the orchestration to get it racked and stacked, and cabling, and cool, all it's just it is a lot of work to do. But anywho, this we did a
Well,
lot
and
of
that's
this
an
work
interesting point as well, right?
yeah.
It's not just getting the hardware, but as we see AI increase, this is
Hmm.
going to change the face of data centers, right? As AI adoptions increase, we're talking about GPUs, we're talking about bigger servers to come in and support this stuff. Heating
Hmm.
and cooling is going to change in the data center. I mean, this is going to be, I'm not going to say this is, year 2000 when it comes to data centers, but it's something that a lot of people are thinking about and considering. Hey, when we start really ramping this stuff up, we're going to have to change the way our data centers operate for this.
Yeah, and I think I was even listening to I started listening to a few AI podcasts, just I guess in my own time, and there a lot of the theme with like some, because they're like researchers coming from like OpenAI and some of the some of the other like Meta and all these like the actual like really smart people that made all this happen type of thing. Um, they're more like concerned about like, are we going to be able to generate enough power, like
Yep.
or can like we're talking about building, like they're starting to measure data centers and how much power they can get assigned to them. And something like, like I think Meta or one of these companies was toying around the idea of like building a nuclear power plant for data centers, or like co-locating data centers with
Yeah.
nuclear power plants type of thing. Yes. The GenAI tile is only available in PivNet currently. That is correct. There is going to be a migration to the Broadcom support portal here shortly. But yeah, you can grab it on TanzuNet right now.
Well, and we should probably clarify, right? So the
Hmm.
GenAI tile, that is for the commercial side. It's for TAS,
Hmm.
Cloud Foundry users. Do we have anything out there? Is there anything really out there for OSS support?
I don't know. I don't think so. Right. So this would be
Yeah.
definitely in the commercial side of the house, for sure. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I was watching. So you were talking about the nuclear power center. I was reading another about some of these underwater. They're talking about undersea data centers to help with cooling,
Hmm. Hmm.
and they were thinking that this is going to be AI is going to help push that as well. You know, Now we're kind of getting into the theoretics of all the things that AI is going to cause for us, and things that are really way above our pay grade, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
it goes to talk again. What's the importance? Why is it such a big deal that the
Hmm.
GenAI tile now supports CPUs? Try before you buy. It's going to give you a little bit. And there's a lot of use cases out there. that you don't need, these high horsepower GPUs. If you've got something that, you can wait a little bit for the response, you got batch jobs going through AI. These are good use cases for CPU, and being able to support it's a good thing.
Yeah. So let's see. There's another question here from LinkedIn. What could be the large language model data size if I want to try in a home lab? So we can show here in a bit. Oh yeah, thanks for putting that up on screen. So like with the current CPU support, we've loaded like some 7B models. Obviously too, like as we talk about like model sizing, and we're probably not going to load like a 70 billion model on CPUs type of thing. But even the Gen AI space is rapidly changing. I think even too, I was listening to an episode of the Unexplored Territory podcast. If you haven't checked it out, that's another kind of great core VMware podcast. But I forgot who it was, but I think it was Chris Goley was talking about the concept or notion of like small language models. That maybe there's going to be these larger open source models that created, and maybe we kind of distill them down to more point in time or more specific for a use case. Where you can run a small language model on CPUs, and that's okay for whatever use case. Because one, we still have generally GPU scarcity, and yeah, if you have a few GPUs running Ethereum, well, you may be able to repurpose those. If you do have a home lab, or you are running TAS in your home lab. I might be able to write a little guide too. So I do have a home lab, and I'm running 3090s with this too. So yeah. Well, we're we're getting off topic here, but I can write a blog post about how to run this on that too.
Elmo McElroy, you've never seen the Terminator movies. I think I made this joke last time we talked, right?
Yeah.
Has nobody ever heard of Skynet and all the buzz about Gen AI?
Well,
and AI in general.
I guess too, like if you want to start, I don't know, going down the rat hole of I guess some of these AI podcasts go down the kind of are we going to reach AGI, or like artificial general intelligence, and then it gets into the super intelligent, where you have these these AIs become like, I don't know, not necessarily sentient, but like smart enough to start like training their own AIs to like do stuff for them, and then I guess like then we get into like a Skynet issue, and then like someone hooks that up to like Boston Dynamics, and then the world's over. I don't know, but I don't think we're quite there yet. So yeah, that's I'm really off topic today. So we're really going off the deep end on AI. In general.
Well, that's what AI does to you. So Elengo asks, is this available for TKG as well, or only for TAS? This is the TAS podcast, right? So, that is what we talk about. There are a lot of different things out there you can do. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, I guess that being said, so we run this stack on Tanzu Platform for Cloud Foundry now. So it's the new name for it. But we also have other applications, we'll call it off-platform access. So we have some demos working around too, where we're deploying apps on Kubernetes or Tanzu Platform for Kubernetes. You can actually inject these credentials that we like, this private open AI API we run, and kind of use off-platform access as well. So we can, and I have a slightly different use case of that we can show too. But yeah, let's get into that here. Let me do we share our post here? Let me do that here. I always forgot to. Let me or can you post this in all Tanzu chat real quick, Nicky?
Yeah,
I forgot to do that today.
The episode, no problem.
Yeah. All right. While Nicky does that here, let me pull this away. I got to prep my screens here. We're getting a lot of good questions here, so let me just give a little bit of a recap for folks watching in case you haven't seen this before. That might help. Oh, share screen settings. Ooh. Oh, StreamYard, killing me.
I was worried about being from a hotel. I didn't know if the hotel internet was going to support me today or not. So,
percent. Here we go. No, it seems to be working okay. Share screen. Okay. Entire screen. This screen. Share. All right, and I will remove the inception of StreamYard here. Hey, you haven't done something for like a week or something. It's really you can forget pretty easily. Anywho, my brain today. I need some AI assistance to help me remember how to use my computer. Apparently. Um,
Yep.
okay, so let's just do a slideshow here. Let's see how this looks. So just doing a little quick architecture review here for folks. So we're talking about this GenAI for Tanzu Platform for Cloud Foundry, formerly known as TAS or Cloud Foundry or PCF, whatever we want to call it. So if we kind of look at what we're doing here, right on the left hand side, can you see my mouse? I'm kind of like, yeah, you see my cursor? I think
A little
so.
bit. Yep.
Yeah. So you deploy apps on TAS, and I'll show. We'll start from scratch too here in a minute here. So we deploy our apps, we CF push apps to the platform. And then those are essentially like front ends for like API, right? Maybe that's like a chat bot or a Taylor Swift app or whatever, Spring Music. And then those front ends use like, traditional API calls via maybe something like Spring AI. If you're running Spring AI is this great kind of framework to help you extend Spring to do some of this great AI stuff. Or like if you're writing Python apps, there's like a bajillion Python frameworks to do this. And you start calling these open AI compatible servers or APIs. In this case, this version, we're going to be using Fast Chat. We're actually expanding that, and we're going to be upgrading from Fast Chat to a new thing here soon within the tile to actually give us more performance and things like that. But I mean, essentially, like we'll be hosting this OpenAI compatible API, and then that API behind it has a bunch of workers that run the large language models, right? And then typically, traditionally, those large language models require GPUs, right? In order just to even like load and function and things like that. And now, obviously, some of this is like model dependent, model size dependent. If you have an Ethereum mine and you're like trying to, figuring out if you need to eBay all your GPUs or you want to start, complete side note. I saw something from an old mining YouTuber who I think there's something like a new AI distributed AI system where I think they've taken the miners and they're starting to convert them to like leasing out for AI use cases. So like there's like some weird distributed AI like local thing too where you can like rent someone else's like GPU farm.
GPU
and the miners are now just processing AI, or they're not actually using any, no more blockchain. But anyway, that's a complete. I'll try to find the name of that thing, but there was another interesting AI tidbit there. But anywho, yeah, these.
Let me ask you a couple questions on this.
Yes.
So you show, we've got Postgres for TPCF, right? So Postgres is now on the commercial side. It's a tile that we can install. So you can have your database right next to your applications, but you don't have to use a database that's on the platform. You can still use an off-platform database if you wanted to, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, so like a lot of these like AI apps, right? Or like when we're traditionally talking about large language models, we have this concept of RAG or retrieval augmented generation. And side note, we had an episode with I think Dr. David Wu from Tanzu, and he basically ran a whole class on what RAG is and how to kind of build enterprise RAG applications. So we should link to that episode too, because if this is maybe going to be more of a you can watch this episode live and then go watch that to like really kind of learn some things. So that's a whole nother if you're interested in this session, you'll love. I don't know what episode it was. We'll have to find that out.
Yep, I'll throw it in there. We'll I'll put the banner. Let me change the banner so people know, but we'll put that in the show notes as well. Make sure people get linked to it because it was a very good instructional on how RAG works, and it's always fun to talk with him.
Yeah. So we have retrieval augmented generation, RAG, and that kind of like augments or like gives additional data essentially to these large language models, because the large language models are trained typically on like a super like high performance compute style of when you hear about like these large companies buying like thousands or tens of thousands of GPUs from NVIDIA. This is essentially where these models are minted from, right? Just massive GPU farms, and takes however long. But then these models get released, but they only have us like they're only trained up into a certain date, right? Until they're released. And then anything besides that date that they usually don't know about. So then that's where this concept of RAG or embeddings come in, where you can essentially add supplemental data, and then that model can then like pull that in, like in addition to its current data set, and like reason and do things off that. So that's where like the Postgres comes in, and we'll show that in some demo apps here. And a lot of the data storage, I guess, databasey type things, like we also have Gemfire and Greenplum, and they talk embeddings or vector embeddings as well. Postgres is kind of this great open source. Like Postgres is pretty much everywhere, right? It's been around for quite some time, and they have what they call PG vector, which enables that. So we have a really click button easy way to do things. And there are, if you have other data storage things that are off platform, I'm sure you could use that too. Like we don't have to like rip and replace your whole data platform for this. But obviously, we have solutions if you'd like some help. But anywho, yeah. So that we kind of get this, and like with this whole architecture, we can build a front end app, like launch like a chat bot, and have this all run within the Tanzu Platform or Cloud Foundry space, right? And I think a lot of we have some of our beta customers, they like this because they can control it within all of their own infrastructure. They're not using these, like actually OpenAI or these third-party APIs that are public, because they might be not allowed to use like public resources like that. Or your organization might, like our organization, like a lot of organizations have just like blocked Chat GPT access and some of these endpoints, just because it's very unclear if you feed some of these third-party endpoints, like, I don't know, like your intellectual property, that it's not going to start training itself or be used as a training set to then make a new model for some, so like there's already been like many documented use cases where so-and-so like uploaded a bunch of like sensitive information from a company, and like it got leaked out to like somebody else or that type of thing. So obviously that's kind of like where we come into play here of, one, we have this great application platform. We want to make it really easy for our current and, new prospect customers, developers running on the platform to just like start doing generative AI without really having to do a whole lot, like learn, like, and build a bunch of infrastructure type of thing. And then also allow a way to like secure it. And then also really kind of curate some of this open source model situation too, because there's a lot of just like great work happening in the open source, like large language model space too. So yeah, anywho, that's a brief.
And I think that's a question too for you as well, Nick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Spring AI got released, and the whole point behind kind of Spring AI was to help this and to help developers move from model to model. This is the same concept, but it's doing it at the platform level, right? Instead of having to go in and modify code to change it, this is a bind service. And again, everybody loves CF create service, CF bind service. This does the same thing simplified on the platform, where you can go in and look at the marketplace. Here are the models that are available to you per your company, and now you can bind to those models as you need to, right? What is there any significant difference between Spring AI and what the Gen AI is doing?
Well, so it's like Spring AI and generative AI. It's like they're like peanut butter and jelly, right?
Yeah,
in my opinion. So like, as a platform engineer, I guess former, I still consider myself a little bit of a platform engineer. I've got like 8 foundations running in my basement. So that's cool. Like you can deploy this infrastructure within your environment and then enable that in your marketplace for your developers, right? And then from a development perspective, let's say I'm a Spring developer. I'm not, but I can pretend to be one. I'm writing some awesome Spring code, and then this new generative AI thing happens, and it's like, well, what do I do, right? Like, and you have like in Spring, there's a bunch of other, I guess, like we call them like sub projects, or I don't know, framework, library, whatever, like Spring Data and like I don't know, other Spring stuff like Spring Cloud. I'm like, this is where we need Deshaun or Dan here, but to really explain it. But you can do like Spring AI, and that really kind of brings in some of these like framework level abstractions to make it really easy for a Spring developer to start calling and start using OpenAI and or any of these like AI type services. So if you look at like Spring AI, you can do. There's a bunch of different definitions for all the different AI things out there. If you can use some of the public endpoints, but because we speak OpenAI, a compatible API, you can just take your Spring code using Spring AI, update your kind of API key and URL, and start pointing to us, and then get all that kind of benefits of like the private access and secure access and things like that nature. So that's really kind of like, when I think of Spring AI, it's more of like more equivalent to some of the Python frameworks like LangChain and Llama Index that make it easier for Python developers to start like building generative AI applications. So I guess Spring AI it's really geared to take that Spring developer, let them build generative AI apps for their businesses and use cases, and not have to have them basically retool on a whole nother language to do some of those things. And
I love these episodes, Nick. You're so passionate, man. You're basically vibrating with excitement when you're talking about this stuff. I loved watching you talking about AI.
Well, hopefully I'm not actually like having reverb or whatever. But yes, so getting to this, my next slide, we're not a whole lot changed here, but we now have CPU support, so we can kind of do some of the same things we were doing on CPUs, and magic still happens type of thing. So that was essentially one of the big features we've released. We've already started to unblock some customers who've been wanting to try this out. They're just trying to get the budget to fund some of these GPU estates, we'll call them. Yeah, they're not cheap, right? And internally, we just got access to a host that has 4 A100s, and I was starting to do the math. I was like, this is not a cheap piece of equipment here, and it could actually hold like up to 8. So I was like, man, if somebody's going and like buying a rack of this stuff, that's gonna be our hardware friends are gonna be real happy when people start buying some of these these massive amount of GPUs. So.
Well, and you got the partnership with like Dell and NVIDIA. Dell's like, yeah, bring it on, right? Mm-hmm. I can't wait to sell all this stuff. You just made our next quarter, so everybody needs to do AI.
Yeah, I'm like, what are these hosts going to be like? $250,000 a piece or something? Because I mean, and what I don't know. I think like NVIDIA's yet soon to be released next generation. I think they're interviewing Jetson. They're like, yeah, it's going to be like $80,000 a card or something. So it's like, wow, but they're kind of in the market where they have the lead there. So I guess they get to set the price of what these what these cards can be. And I guess a complete side note, right? So we're talking about like these cards and how expensive they may be. And another thing that I hear constantly is that for the folks who have invested in some of this already, I guess the biggest current problem, if you're not like a Meta or whatever, you need to have a pipeline to like keep these cards utilized, right? Because I think that's another situation where they made the investment perhaps, but they don't have enough there's only so many data scientists or things like that. So this is where something too like we can come into play with. We also have something when in Broadcom VMware by Broadcom. The VMware Private AI Foundation is part of like the VCF stack. So like we could easily plug into that too, where you get all the NVIDIA virtual GPU situation going on, carving up like slices of GPUs. We can talk to all that and kind of plug into that as well to help drive utilization on perhaps some of these rather expensive pieces of hardware that may be sitting idle as well. So, the Private AI Foundation can help, onboard some of your data scientists and things like that. We can help from the app platform estate to help drive that use cases too. So we kind of get that question a lot too, because like, well, what's the difference between those solutions, or why would I do one or the other? I was like, well, if you're in the Cloud Foundry space, a TAS user, this makes a whole lot of sense, but one doesn't preclude the other. Like we work together, and I think if anyone has made that significant GPU estate investment, especially with NVIDIA and all the AI enterprise virtualized GPU things, I think we're all here to help make sure that investment is productive.
Well, and not just on-prem, right? If you're running foundations on cloud, You can set aside, you can grow that GPU on cloud, increase the price as you want to. But going back to the big statement of why CPU is so important, I mean, like you said, we're going through this with a couple customers now. They're very interested. They're super excited about this. They love running things on TAS. They think that this is great, but they're not willing to commit, building out a GPU enabled foundation right now. So how do we prove out it works?
Yeah.
And this is, is this a differentiator for the GenAI tile, the fact that we run on CPUs?
I think so too. So I think, I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of solutions that have picked up this new CPU support yet. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. So I've done a lot of slide talking, and where are we at? We're at, okay. Let's go into demo mode, and we can keep talking here. Oh, I got 2 more slides. So we're talking about models, right? So like just a quick recap or heads up or whatever. We're pulling models from Hugging Face. So we're like taking part of that nice open source ecosystem of all the model training and running models from Hugging Face. And we also support the, this concept of multi models. You can run we'll be running Vicuna today. That kind of gives you that chatbot style model support. I'll show some other models on another foundation that are those are on GPUs, and like doing some code complete stuff. And Code Llama is one of them. We can kind of see because as these things are progressing, there are different models for different types of function, right, and things of that nature. So we'll cover that too as well. So let me break out of slides, I think. Okay, perfect. All right, so how are we looking here on the screen? Let me try to get some
screen. Might have to take ourselves off the screen. It's a little hard for me to.
All right, maybe how's this look? Is this good?
Much better.
Okay. All right. So if you haven't seen this before, we're starting from scratch here. So let's see. We're in VS Code, and I have my no, don't code complete yet. Sorry,
sometimes the helpful is not so helpful.
Well, that was part of my GenAI service picking up on it. So that wasn't my first demo. It got ahead of itself. But yeah, we'll get into that in a second. There's some magic in my VS Code terminal here. But we're gonna start with the CF push, right? So I got some Spring code. It's Spring music. And for those of you who've seen this demo, I've done it a lot. So I apologize if you've seen it like 10 times already. But I'll do it again here. So CF push. Let's check CF API. CF push. Okay. So in lieu of talking about our first CF push experiences, since we've already talked about that, we're doing a CF push right now to see how awesome it is. And if you haven't seen any of our other shows, we usually have a additional special guest, and we like to start their first question off with what was their first CF push, and you can kind of see the fond memories of when they started off on this journey with us.
I'm gonna tap into my inner Deshaun, and you're running this on Java 17. Man, I don't want you on Java 17. I want you on the latest. Why aren't you on 21? Deshaun's going to ask you that question when he sees this.
I'm sorry. I'm a bad boy. I don't know.
Oh, he's gonna smack you down when he sees you.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm running a little bit of old version of Java. I'm sorry. I don't know. We got the app working, and we haven't really touched it yet. So I touched it in a while, but yeah. So anyway, just a quick aside. So we type CF push. This is kind of like the heart of Cloud Foundry. If you're new to this space, and we had a jar file that's compiled of my Spring code. We uploaded it to the platform. It did this whole thing called build packs, where we scanned the code, detected it was a Java application that could probably roll through here this log here, and used the Java build pack. And as Nicky so stated, I'm only running Java 17. Shame on me. At least it's not Java 8. But Anywho, it built a whole container for me. I didn't have to do any of that, and it did a bunch of Java best practices like a JDK memory calculator, certificates, all these great things here, and just kind of uploaded it to the platform. And now it's running here.
Gave you a route, gave you a network route,
load balancing, certificates.
Yep, didn't have to do any of that stuff from a developer standpoint. CF push, code's out there running, everything infrastructure wise taken care of you. Yeah. Right. So what does the app do?
All right. So now we have an app running. Let's go over to let's see it here. All right. So let me make my screen bigger. Make sure this is. You can get out of slides here. I'm sure I've expired my session here. 1 minute here. Where's my? Oh. I need to get my password.
The downside to having very large passwords.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to just make like a demo user so I can just on all my foundations. So I never have to like look this up. But anywho, command plus. All right, so let's zoom in here. All right, this is Apps Manager. This is one of our UIs for Tanzu Application Service or Tanzu Platform Cloud Foundry. And this is where we can easily see apps running on Cloud Foundry, things like that. So we just pushed Spring Music AI Taylor's CPU-CF weekly version, right? We're getting some, cool things like CPU and memory. It's a Java Spring Boot application. We see that. We're getting some, things that are like actuator endpoints, things of that nature. We could do like auto scaling if we wanted to, but we're not because this is like we're not there yet on this demo. Where we don't really need it. I'm not driving, web traffic to it really. Logs, great stuff here. Anyway, but what we want to get to is the actual app running, right? So like this is all this was just done for me with one command. So if you haven't seen this before, this is how easy it is. So now we have this app running, right? It's great. It's wonderful. If you've seen Spring Music, it's usually green. Amelia, our colleague, and Long, they've kind of built, and with some other folks, like a lot of folks helped build this like fork of this. And Amelia really wanted to make it a Taylor Swift version, so we did. And I've been running with it ever since. So now we're using the Taylor Swift version, and it's a music album, sample application, really just to show the whole marketplace or user provided service functionality of Cloud Foundry. And let's go here. All right. This is where and
we got a heavy metal version of this too, don't we?
Yes. Yeah. I don't have that. I haven't tested out that code. I need to talk to the folks behind that because they took this and then forked it and made a heavy metal version of it, which I guess maybe that demo is better. I don't know. I think Taylor Swift's, whatever net worth is probably worth more than the entire heavy metal industry combined. But
that, and I don't want Amelia to be mad at me. So
yeah, no, I have no problem using the Taylor Swift demo. It's cool. All right, so let's do this concept called the marketplace. So like I'm a developer, I need things additionally to my app. Like I want to use this GenAI thing, so let's click that. I'm gonna get a LLM wired up to me. LLM CF weekly, great, and we'll click create. So while that runs, created successfully. Let's go back to I finished. You finished. Little refresh issue there. So we have a service bound to it. It's GenAI on Tanzu Platform. It has been bound to this application. But I've already pre-plumbed a bunch of Postgres databases here for my demos, so I'm going to pick up one of those. So if we go to services here, so I have a bunch of Postgres databases, and I'm going to grab 2 here, just because some of this demo, we start writing things to tables, and then obviously I like to start with a fresh database, and I could like drop the table and stuff, but it's easier just to build a new database and delete the other one. So let's bind to existing service. I'm going to use this PG vector DB 002 to store my embeddings because we want to be able to teach the AI a little bit, that type of thing. So let's do that. Great. We'll restart. That's going to make sure that the environment variables. So like, if you haven't seen this either, when we do these marketplace offerings, these marketplace services, we're creating service, like what we call a service provider, like service bindings, and those service bindings are actually getting auto wired into the application. So let's take a look at that really quickly here. So we definitely have some folks who haven't seen this before, which is great. This is where, and now this is all, you can't get to any of these endpoints, and this will all be deleted probably after this. So it doesn't matter if I show all these passwords and things, but we auto wired the JDBC credential string and password, username into the application. I didn't have to do any of that. The platform manages it all. We can do some advanced features where we start then encrypting those secrets in what we call Cred Hub, which is kind of like a HashiCorp vault type of thing. And from a developer, like I don't have to worry about my credentials leaking at all ever. It's all just managed for me. So it was we can see the GenAI service here too, where we're calling that API endpoint and our key. This is like if you're a Spring, or if you're like any kind of like, I'm developing apps calling OpenAI, this is where you like swap out your OpenAI key with this information here, like on your Spring AI application or Python.
Now this is part of the bind, right? So this is how when the operator sets this up, he sets up the key, he sets up the plan, and then you bind to it.
Yeah. Well, they set up the plan, but the system manages all the keys and things like that for everyone type of thing. Yep. So anywho, we have all that. And now if we refresh our application, right, we see the Spring Music Assistant here. Let me zoom a little bit more. We can't pop up, right? So part of this demo app is to then take these new service bindings and inject that into the app. And when that app detected the GenAI service, it knew to activate new code, the Spring Music Assistant. Hence, when we restarted the application, it launched this chat bot, and we can start asking it questions. And I like to start hello, who are you? All the different models answer in a different way. So, and then typically some of them like this is a Vicuna model, it will identify it is Vicuna, and I was trained by large model systems. Some of them are just like, I'm an assistant, and they won't tell you what model they are. So it's just like a fun thing there. So we got a response here, great, wonderful. And then 2, we can add albums. This is where the whole embedding thing comes into play here, right? I love TPCF, right? And actually, hold on. Now we can ask it a question like, I almost forgot the first part. It's like the show and tell type. What albums did,
getting ahead of yourself?
Yeah, did the artist VMware? Oh boy, live typing, underrated. VMware Tanzu produce. Oh man, I'm sorry, everyone. If you're on the podcast, just tell I was really butchering this question. What albums did the artist VMware Tanzu produce? I'm gonna say album just because I don't know. Yeah, copy that, and it'll come back with something I don't know. The artist VMware Tanzu did not produce any music albums, and that's correct because based on the training data, which I believe in this model ended in 2021. So this is kind of an older model, and even in the newer models don't know about the music artist VMware Tanzu. So now let's give a little bit of a supplemental knowledge with a embedding, so we can add the album. I love TPCF, right? I got to get some new stickers made, Nicky.
Yep.
DevOps, I don't know. Nick really, yep. Yeah. So if for those of you on the podcast, I'm making an album on Spring Music. We'll click save. We can review, sort by score. Now we have this new album. I love TPCF. Nick really loves the song about GenAI for Tanzu Platform. Now, so that was stored as an embedding within the system, and our app is smart enough to kind of use that to pass it to the LLM. So when we ask it the same question, we'll get hopefully a different response, a more educated response, right? And here we go. The artist VMware Tanzu produced an album titled "I Love TPCF" in the year 2024. The album is in the genre of DevOps. So That's kind of like the whole flow, right? And if you've seen this before, this all like before, maybe like a few weeks ago or whatever, we could only run this on GPUs, on Bosch powered GPUs. But let me show some of the magic here behind the scenes. I can get my terminal ready.
Uh-oh, we're breaking out H-tops.
Yeah, H-tops. No NV-tops. All right, so for those of you who don't know, that's H-top running. And let's ask it the same question. And for those of you who've seen this before, it's usually NV-top, right? And yeah, we see a lot of things happening here. Those are CPU cores processing, and it's and then answer the question again, right? So again, if this is we're kind of where we're starting different here, where we essentially took the same model, and now that we picked up some kind of new functionality in the back end, we can run essentially the same model which we're running on GPUs now on CPUs. And let's dive into the vSphere world where we're running this. So this is one of my labs here, and just I guess a quick call out to you. So Intel's been doing some pretty sweet work on their newer processors, their Xeon chips, and like so this is a Intel Xeon Platinum 8452. Someone colleague let me borrow this system, so thank you, Earl. We're able to kind of run this, and this is a Sapphire Rapids Intel generation. So there's all these different code names or whatever for the different Xeon processors, and this is where we start to get like some really fast speeds. And I think this system was released like in 2023, but we have run these on older systems as well. And it's maybe not be as bit of snappy here. It's pretty snappy on these newer CPUs, right? But and especially too, because like this Spring Music app, like we're not using streaming here or anything, which would make that response right. Because like this app will query the LLM and then wait until the full response is brought back to populate. But if you start using something like you can do like streaming techniques and call that in your application. And as soon as the LLM starts processing, it'll start feeding it back and it'll like start reading more like an actual conversation where it'll start writing things on the screen. And I got a kind of a streaming example to show you later as well. But that's kind of like the gist of that, the flow here. But I think I have some
I
data.
think it'd be interesting. I wonder, because you're talking about that with the data portion of this, throwing something like a Gemfire or a good caching engine in front of the database. That's something we should probably see if we can't get Gregory Green back on, talk about what GenAI and Gemfire could do.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely need to do that too. I just we would need definitely like Gregory there to help us there. He maybe we can get Tola too. I think Gregory and Tola could give us a really good demo about like Green Plum and Gemfire. But that's a note for us.
Yep. I wonder, just putting Gemfire in front of the database, having that all in memory and up close, I wonder what that impact would be and if it's even possible.
Yeah, so I know like Gemfire does vector DB support. So like you could even swap out Postgres with Gemfire. And like obviously like Gemfire would perform a little bit better. But there are other things too to keep in mind, or there's like other AI stuff that we can do, like Green Plum, especially. And I don't know enough about the stuff to really speak on it intelligently enough, unfortunately.
Taking a note.
Yep. So I guess let's pull this away here. And I guess as we talk about like these CPU generations, right? Because you might also be like, well, I don't have an Intel Sapphire Rapids CPU, so that's like a Dell R760, right? So that's a relatively newer host. But I have been doing some testing here, right? And so this column here, let me make this bigger here. Now I was gonna like make these into like charts and things, but I haven't done that yet. And I haven't even finished my testing yet. So we've tested on a 4th gen Xeon, which was released in Q1 of 2023. So relatively new. I think they're like, there's another 5th gen called Emerald Rapids too. So why we kind of focus on the 4th or 5th gen is Intel has something called a special instruction set called Intel AMX, which like something I think something to do with matrix extensions, and a lot of these LLMs behind the scenes are doing like matrix math. I have no idea what that means in reality, but I've just heard those words. But that extension set makes the LLMs go faster, I guess, in layman's terms. So, and I was doing some testing. That was a 32 vCPU VM we were running on. When we were doing it, we're like that same question: what albums did VMware Tanzu produce on Vicuna? We're getting about like a 5 to 6 second response time on fourth gen. On second gen, which was on Q1 20, about like a maybe 8 to 9 second response time. So not not terrible, and you could do some optimizations with your application to maybe start do streaming and things. So considering that this is a processor released in 2020, so a bit ago now. But then also I do have my Broadwell based home lab systems I run on. I did get a 20 the max chip here. So one thing I have noticed too, you really don't want to scale out beyond your NUMA region, right? Because so this Platinum is actually a 36 core, so I hit the 32 core. But what I was seeing here on my Broadwell base, which is a 14 core, once you start going over 14 cores, then you start getting weird NUMA things, and performance doesn't really get you a whole lot of benefit there. So I've got a new chip. I bought the 2699 V4, which is a 22 core, like the pinnacle processor of that lineup. It was probably like a $10,000 chip at the time or whatever, but now I got it for like $100 or something. But I'm gonna try that one of my systems to see if I can get any better performance off my 2016 Broadwell system. But hopefully nobody's running 26 Broadwells in production still, because those are like getting old when I was still doing the VMware stuff. So yeah, hopefully you're maybe the second, third, fourth gen. But yeah, definitely if you're in some of these newer Xeons, like you totally use this to get started. Obviously, these don't compete with NVIDIA GPUs, but if you are lucky enough to have GPUs, we can work there as well. But this is definitely focused on trying to help everyone get started and kind of justify. Should we really spend a bunch of money on this, right? Because I think a lot of people are like, "Is this just hype? Is everybody just like I'm starting to see like memes and things now, like every vendor don't something about like sell me this pen. They're like, we'll put AI on it and like sold or something. Like it's like everyone is putting AI on everything now, and it's like, okay, maybe it's definitely some hype cycle, but there's definitely a lot of things happening. I think that some of the researchers have called it like the fourth industrial revolution type of thing. So
I think the interesting thing here is looking at your return times, right? It's not going to be performant, but it's not painful. It's something you can get out there and you can go test and you can iterate and kind of innovate with without being painful, right? So,
I
mean, are you going to return blazing speeds with it? Absolutely not, but that's not what it's there for. This is a try before you buy.
Yeah, and this probably isn't most of the most empirical or scientific type stuff, because even like I should probably start overlaying these with like, I don't know, response times on like, I have some older GPUs like a Tesla P40 or things like that. We can kind of do some of that here. Let me, do we have enough time? Yeah, we'll get some time here. So let me try.
And there is a question. So Laszlo asked us, does this have NPU support?
So I know Intel started putting some NPU stuff inside of their CPUs as well. I also know there's like side card things too that are like older, like maybe XPUs too. So I think part of that AMX stuff is like kind of like the NPU stuff, and maybe more of the consumer grade processors, if that makes sense. Because I know like everyone now is like the what is it? Like Microsoft just like launched the Copilot. They're talking about the Copilot AI. Like, all the desktop manufacturers are talking about like the AI PCs, right? And like Microsoft announced that, and there's
right,
like Snapdragon, like it's going to be the first ARM based like Windows machine, and that's going to be a big. I think it's made by Microsoft, and like all the like Dell and HP, all the traditional desktop makers are also releasing a line of the. I think it's calling like the Copilot AI PC for like trying to get into the ARM game, similar to how like Mac has. So there's that stuff going on. And then also, like, I know Intel within their consumer grade are starting to put like NPUs and iGPUs within some of their, like i9s or i7s. So I don't know 100% if that all translates into the like the Xeon class processor, right? But I know the Xeons, like, yeah, we could do a little bit more research, but I think it's something to keep in mind too.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Where were we? Well, I want to show some other things really quickly here. I know we're kind of close on time, but we can go a little bit over if we
We
need
got
to.
5 minutes, man. We got all the time in the world. You're good.
Yeah, but like no one's gonna shut off our StreamYard, right? So no, I won't go over too long. Where we at? Okay, I need to go to new foundation, new environment. How do I get there? NDC. Now we're flipping over to the Coon Data Center land here. Mini lab. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find a credential for this lab. I need to get a common UAA password for every one of these.
Demo user passwords A.
Yeah. Can you make it a single character? Because that would be awesome. But anywho. All right, so now we're in a different foundation. I have no idea what the state of these apps are. Is this wired up? Okay, yeah. All right, let's check this guy out. All right, so LFTPCF. What album?
While you're going through that, we got another question. Did Nick just make a case for Broadcom focusing on hardware as it will be influenced by emerging software? So, they're peanut butter and jelly. You can have, you can have hardware, but it doesn't do you a lot of good if it's not running on software, and even the hardware itself kind of requires software to run. So there is going to be we're going to see a huge, look at NVIDIA. They did their stock split. What's going up with that, with their GPUs, AI is going to be a calm storm before it becomes a raging storm. And yes, hardware is absolutely going to be a focus on that. When you look at Broadcom stock, it's going up, and a lot of that's based off of AI, the AI hype and seeing what's coming in. So absolutely, hardware is going to be a focus. And, as new hardware comes out, knowing where the industry's going, software is going to do the best that it can to eke out as much performance out of that hardware as it possibly can, and even try to challenge the hardware makers to do something better, because the software could potentially overlap.
Oh no, don't edit that. No. All right. So yeah, and that too, like that's kind of also something I've pondered, right? Because we're now VMware Broadcom, the VMware Tanzu division of that. And yeah, Broadcom in general, like our friends now, or like our new colleagues. There's a lot of people who make a lot of like these things called like TPUs for large hyperscalers. That would be really cool if we could start picking up some of our own gear too. So who knows? But clear here. All right, so now
one drives the other, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's the way it's always been. One drives the other. So you're absolutely going to see an increase in the hardware side as the hardware starts getting better. Going through its law of average and increase. Yes, absolutely. You're going to see the software side pick up and start trying to use that to its utmost capacity.
All right, now we're now back in GPU land. But if you notice here, if the Ethereum miners are still here, I'm running a 3090 Ti on this, right? And I had to do some tomfoolery to get this to work, right? Because but I think too, like on some of the newer versions of the tile, we try to like predefine everything of all the different GPU types here. Let me get to this ops manager. And then we kind of found out that like that was like next to impossible, just because of all the different permutations of hardware. Just trying to have a drop down list for the A100 was problematic when we're talking about all the vGPU configuration and things of that nature, and because it's dynamic too. So, anywho, now let's see here. Well, yeah, I won't really see this here. I guess because I had to hack it behind the scenes. So this is something too about speed here. So we're now running VLLM on this, and then I've got a separate this is a kind of multi-model and like multi-way of running models. And as we progress with this, I think we're going to make some more efficiencies here. So we have, I think this is actually Llama 3, if I remember correctly. Now on this card, let's pull out this. Yeah, Llama 3 8B instruct. Yeah. So I'm running Llama 3 on this 3090 Ti on VLM. I have another copy of it running as well for embedding. So I've kind of split out the inference and embeddings on 2 different processes, and it's using VLM, which is like a much more like a more performant inference model. And then we can start to see too. So like we went from like Vicuna, which is I think based on like Llama, and then now we're on like a Llama 3 model. And I wonder what album. And this is, this will take a little bit of time here too, because we this is well, I guess maybe that first one didn't take this a little long, but this one was pretty quick here, maybe like a second or two. But that blue spike was the GPU processing, and we didn't see the embedding. But we can start to see some of the differences in the model. Like this model is much more verbose than Vicuna. And, here's the initial answer. And then it's like, hey, I'm going to start, adding some things and like really kind of, giving a more like humanistic or more of a more in-depth model or answer. And like the response before was just like, do I still have it up here? Like this, right? And then this whole thing, right? So, and like some of this you can control through your application, and like having it validate and sanity check and do prompt. Like this is where like some of the prompt engineering comes into play, where you try to tell the LLMs to like either be like super verbose or don't be verbose, things of that nature. So that's just kind of
so the fact that it picked up, it was a blend of electronic and indie music elements. Is that something that comments that were made on the album? How did it pick that
up? This is what we call hallucinations, I believe. So where they try to the LLMs will try to like add some things, right? And now like this is still like a really like this app hasn't been touched in quite some time. So like we've been actually working with some of the customers where like this is where your Spring AI and some of these other frameworks get into play, where you can help, you can instruct the AI to like evaluate its answer and then like use a baseline set to see if this makes sense. And this is just more a very like, we don't have a whole lot in here to like tune or like protect against hallucinations or make it a little bit more verbose. And then this app, we've been swapping models in and out too. So like Llama 3 is relatively new. We haven't really done whole optimization here, but I was just trying to get Llama 3 running in general. So, and then
like, it shows a good point of why you want to evaluate your models and see how they return.
Yeah, definitely want to evaluate the models and have a lot of like testing and like make sure, because that's like another thing too we haven't scratched on the surface on. We could probably have a whole nother episode on like how do we make sure like the what you're building is accurate, or like not just like telling potential end users of the application just like crazy things or like hallucinating and things like that. So, and then one more use case here I will show, and then I will be done. And I don't see the StreamYard, so if there's questions, let me know. Because I got screens everywhere now. Where am I?
Nope, I'm posting them up as they come up.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm in my VS Code here.
We're going a little bit long because of my rant at the start of the show about the heat of Phoenix. So
no, it's okay.
It's my fault.
It's only 2:03. We're okay. So if you haven't seen here, let me start this. So we have like I have my VS Code, and there's like this great this marketplace of extension of things that you put in VS Code, but I'm using something called continue.dev. And continue.dev is this like awesome plugin thing that does code complete and you can ask it questions and things, and you can be like, hey, or show me how to write a Spring Boot application on Cloud Foundry, right? And you enter, and so this is installing, using streaming, where it's starting to stream back this response, and I have to, it's streaming faster than I can read it, so it's like, I don't know. This is great too. Like, I've used this before, like writing some code. I'm like, how do I write a regular expression to do X, Y, and Z? And it can actually then like locally, and this is all locally, right? And like analyze the code, or like look at this thing. I had it like tell me like writing how do I write a bash script to deploy an app on Cloud Foundry, and that's one of the things that I did with it as well. But it's giving me all these things here to do about that. So it didn't look like it told me how to write an app. Oh no. Create a new Spring Boot, use Spring Initializer, start at spring.io. So yeah, that's not too bad. Gradle build probably didn't really. It's probably just So maybe this isn't the best example. Like maybe show me how to write a hello world Spring Boot app.
Yeah, it's fixed to say it's all about how you prompt it, right? What the prompt is, and there's a whole new job market opening up there just for AI prompt designers. How do you ask the right questions?
All right, so now we're getting some sample code, controller, run the app, Maven, local host, and maybe now show me how to run it on Cloud Foundry. Now, I bring this up because this is essentially an off-platform access, right? So like this is just my local VS Code, and like continue.dev allows you to use the public API, the OpenAI, all the different public AI stuff, or you can use OpenAI compatible local AIs, or if you have OLAM or whatever on your machine, if you don't have a CF or a TAS or whatever. But I'm using just this key and endpoint, and it's essentially running it all for me. And I'm actually using this coder model, DeepSeek Coder 6.7b. So this is a model that's specified for like code instruction and things like that. So, anyway, that's just another awesome example of you could do. And I think too would be kind of useful too for if you wanted to run some of this for secure, because we're running this locally. Like we're not sending this off. This would all be controlled within your environment, and having something available to your devs to do some of that too. Because there's the GitHub Copilots and things like that. But then there's always like, is that, how do we know that data is secure, and or can you control that type of thing? So anywho,
I heard some recent news about Copilot, what Microsoft's doing with Copilot, but we'll have to save that for another show. But it is interesting. It's the world's on fire with AI right now, and just judging by watching Nick talk about this and his excitement, you can see why. A lot of good use cases, a lot of real benefits that can come from AI.
I guess I'll remove my screen now. All right, there you go. Now I can I didn't mean to inception everyone there. All right. So we are a little bit over today. But what else? Anything else to cover?
No, I think that's about it. We can talk about, I think everybody knows, and we'll be mentioning it as we get closer. VM Explorer is coming up. But we'll talk about that as we get a little bit closer to August. Hopefully to see some people there. I know you're going to Explore. I'm going to Explore. Maybe we can do some more. Maybe we can get our montage of CF pushes while we're Explore, since we'll be there for a week, see a lot more people. But other than that,
Yeah. Are we ready?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, no.
I do have one question. You set a bar last Explore by creating this product that just went public, this week. Congratulations, by the way. What the hell are you going to do at this Explore? You've set a bar. Now you got to come up with something else good, Nick.
I'm going to talk about this product at Explore.
I don't blame you. Good stuff.
Yeah,
customers are excited. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, so I guess they started at the hackathon. They are announcing the hackathon again. I'm debating on whether running a team again. That was a lot of work last year. I don't know. But if anyone's interested in the hackathon too, that's something to keep in mind as well. So I will probably be doing
It was
too
a
many
lot of
things
work
that
last
explore.
year.
Yeah. But it was fun.
You say it was a lot of work, and you're still working on the hackathon that you did last year. But
Yeah.
look at the pride, man. It's
Yeah.
good job. Very happy for you. That's awesome.
And to I guess, I've only done like the cool work of showing off all the work that all the engineers have done. So, shout out to Long and Amelia and Ed and Marcella and everyone, kind of work on this behind the scenes. So,
Takes a
yeah,
village.
yeah, exactly. Anywho, yeah, I
All
think.
right, everybody. Well, thanks for
Oh,
sticking with us. I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Always
yes.
fun to watch Nick talking when he gets excited about something. So,
Yeah, and
all
if you're
right.
out there listening, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you have a podcast player thingy, subscribe to our podcast and on every device possible, or every YouTube account possible, or like find us on Twitter, uh, CF Weekly. We should have a little canned bit for this, but yes, please, yeah, that definitely helps. We're continuing to grow our presence on all of our accounts, but your liking, subscribing, clicking the notification bell, that all helps out just to get us a little bit more reach.
Yep. And by the way, podcast thingy is the official term. If you have a
Yes.
podcast thingy,
Yeah,
so
podcast player of choice. I guess that's the more official term. I use Spotify, but you can use whatever you'd like.
I like podcast thingy.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, we will see you again next week. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. And until next Thursday,
See
see
ya.
you.
Bye.
Bye.